7. Flirty behaviors men can't hide when they are into you. Let's be honest for a second. Trying to figure out men can feel like you're working on a puzzle that's missing half its pieces. One moment he's making you laugh, focusing only on you and staring at you like you're the only one around. Then out of nowhere he pulls back, acting all polite like he's just being nice. And now you're sitting there wondering, was that flirting or am I overthinking everything? Seriously, how hard is it to just say, I like you? But no, most guys won't be that direct. They won't show up with a sign that says, I have feelings for you. Instead, they drop hints and think they're being clever or cool, when really they're just making it more confusing. But here's the good part. Even when a guy is trying to play it cool, his body and behavior always tell the truth. His mind might try to hide how he feels, but without meaning to, his actions will give it away. And once you know what to look for, you'll start noticing these signs before he's even figured it out himself. So if you've ever sat there wondering, is he into me or just being friendly, you're in the right place, because we're about to go over some of the common things men do when they're truly interested in you. And when you spot a few of these signs together, chances are he already has feelings. Let's start with something that gives away a lot of emotions, touch. When a guy is really drawn to you, he'll find reasons to be close to you. But instead of grabbing your hand and saying, I love being near you, he'll do it in smaller ways. Have you ever seen a guy laugh and gently touch your arm or hand, something to you, and let his fingers brush yours? Maybe he holds your hand a bit longer than necessary and adds something like, wow, your hands are so much smaller than mine. That's not an accident. He's building small moments of connection with you guys. May not always be great at speaking their emotions, so they use touch to express them. And the more comfortable he becomes around you, the more you'll start to see this happening. Little nudges when joking, a guiding hand on your back when walking through a crowd, or maybe his arm casually resting behind your chair. Those tiny actions mean something. And here's a little experiment you can try. The next time you're around a guy who might like you, pay attention to how often he initiates any kind of contact. If it happens a few times that day, that's usually a pretty clear sign he's feeling something. And remember, guys, don't just do that with everyone. If he's only doing it with you, that's not random. That's very much on purpose. And you can even feed into that connection by giving a small touch back if he bumps into you, playfully lean into. If he taps your arm while talking, gently tap back. It shows you're okay with his closeness, and that gives him the green light to continue. It helps him feel more confident and deepens the connection between you both. Touch says a lot more than words sometimes, and when it's happening consistently in small ways, he's probably more into you than he's letting on. Now, another big clue is in his eyes. Keep a close watch on how he looks at you, because your eyes reveal what words don't. One thing most people don't realize is that when someone feels attracted, their pupils actually get larger. It's not something they can control. It's a natural response to interest. So, next time you're face to face with him, take a quick look at his eyes. Do his pupils seem wider? Does he seem completely focused on you, like he's listening closely to everything you're saying? That's a strong sign of attraction. And don't forget, lighting plays a role too. If it's dark, everyone's pupils get bigger. But if you're somewhere with regular lighting and his eyes still look more dilated when looking at you, that means something. It means he's totally focused, not just hearing your words, but giving you his full attention. And then there's strong eye contact. That one's hard to fake. When a man likes you, he'll often hold your gaze just a little longer than normal, not in a weird way, but like he's truly trying to take in every part of what you're saying and who you are. He may look down at your lips while you're talking, or look your way when he thinks you're not watching. All those things suggest you've grabbed his attention. If he's paying attention when he doesn't need to, when he's not part of the conversation, or when you're not looking at him, that's a sign he's curious about you. He's observing how you respond, what lights you up, and what makes you smile. That kind of attention doesn't happen by accident. It's a reflection of deep interest. And here's something that might surprise you. Mirroring this means when he starts copying your movements or the way you talk without realizing it, he's connecting with you on a deeper level. It's something people do naturally when they feel a bond. Let's say you take a sip from your drink and a few seconds later he takes one too, or you shift in your seat and he adjusts his a moment after that. Maybe you lean forward while talking and he mirrors that movement too. That's not coincidence. That's him syncing up with you people. Mirror those they feel drawn to. That's why long-time couples sometimes even start to act or sound alike. They're mentally and emotionally aligned. You can test this out too. Shift your posture or touch your face and see if he follows. That's a quiet sign that he's more interested than he lets on. It even shows in small facial cues. If you smile and he smiles right after. If you raise your eyebrows and he mimics it, those are strong emotional clues. He's not just present, he's fully engaged. His expressions mirror yours because he's mentally in the same place as you without needing to say anything. Now let's get into something that makes things a little fun teasing when a guy really likes someone. He often shows it through playful teasing. He'll poke fun in a kind way, challenge you just a little, and try to get you to react. Not because he's trying to be rude, but because he's testing the waters for connection. Teasing creates a fun kind of tension. It keeps things interesting. He might laugh about how dramatic you get when talking about your favorite show, or how you always get the same drink. It's not meant to insult, it's his way of creating a shared moment between the two of you. And if he does it while smiling, or watching how you respond, then that's his way of flirting. Sometimes this teasing comes with light contact. Maybe he bumps your arm or taps your shoulder while making a joke. It's his way of being close without making a big deal out of it. If you want to show him you're into it, tease him right back, make a joke, play along, keep that energy going. It tells him you enjoy being around him, and it builds a back and forth connection that naturally deepens chemistry when there's teasing with smiling laughter and comfort. There's no longer just friendly, it's flirting at its core. So if you're seeing these signs like more frequent touches, focused eye contact, mirroring and teasing, there's a good chance he's feeling more than he's letting on. His words might not be clear, but his behavior is speaking for him. He's showing interest and connection through actions, because those are harder to hide than words. And if he jokes about how you're always talking, you could fire back with something like, well, at least I'm interesting enough to keep listening to it, matches his playful style, and shows him you're confident and fun. And here's the truth, guys, don't tease or focus on women they're not into. If he's going out of his way to make you laugh, watch how you react, and keep your attention. It's because he's thinking about you and trying to build something real, even if he hasn't said it yet. Without saying it directly that he's into you, the next time a guy starts joking around with you, don't brush it off as just harmless fun. Notice how he's doing it, because very often behind that grin, behind that light-hearted comment, is someone who actually likes you more than he admits. He brings up the future with you. When a man genuinely likes someone, he won't stay stuck in the moment. He'll start dropping hints about the future in small ways that include you. And now, it doesn't mean he's laying out a life plan on your second date. It just means during little moments he starts naturally slipping you into his upcoming plans without forcing you. He might say something like, "You'd love this hiking trail I went to last summer. We should check it out sometime." Or maybe he'll talk about an upcoming concert and say, "That could be fun for us to go to together." These things may sound casual, but they mean a lot. He's imagining a future, and he's seeing you in it. Guys don't usually talk about the future with someone they see as short term. If a man is only after something casual, he'll keep the talk focused on what's happening this weekend or where to go Friday night. But when he begins imagining future scenarios and you're in them, even if it's just little stuff, it's because his mind is starting to think long term. And what's even more revealing is he might not even realize he's doing it. A man's brain tends to separate things into different boxes. If he's not serious, he won't even bother imagining something more. But if you're someone he genuinely likes, then you'll naturally start showing up in his thoughts. He may find himself wondering how you'd react to a funny story, or how it'd feel bringing you to his favorite spot. There's also a difference between the guy who just throws out vague suggestions and one who actually acts on it. The first one might say we should do that sometime just to say something. But if he follows up a few days later and says, "Hey, I got us tickets to that event," or he remembers something you wanted to try and brings it up again, that means he's really putting an effort. He's not just talking about something, he's actually thinking about how to improve you. And when a man starts seeing a future with you, it's also because he feels emotionally safe. He
humility,
trusts
and the
that spending more
sacredness of
time with you
life.
won't lead to
The
heartbreak.
prophets of
And
both
that's a big
traditions,
step for
though
a guy.
living in
Men
different
don't
times
open up
and
easily,
lands,
so when they do,
echoed
it
similar
means they
truths
feel
about
something
human
deep,
responsibility,
even if they're
the
not ready
danger
to
of
say it
arrogance,
directly.
and
But
a
let's
need
say
for
a guy
repentance.
seems to
The
enjoy your
ceasefire
company, but
offers a
never
unique
talks
moment
about the
for
future
reflection
at
on
all.
these
That could mean
similarities,
several things.
not as a
Maybe he's
means
been
to
hurt
erase
before,
identity,
and he's being
but
extra
as a
careful.
reminder that
Or
there is
maybe
more
he's
that
not in a place in
unites
his
than
life where he's
divides.
thinking that
When the
far
guns
ahead.
fall
But
silent,
if
it
weeks
is the
or even
perfect time
months
to remember
go
the
by
voice
and
of
he still
Abraham,
hasn't
who
once mentioned
listened
the
to the
future,
call
not
of
even
the
in small
one
ways, it
God
might be
and
time to
walked in
ask yourself
submission to his
if he's
will.
just
Too
enjoying the
often,
present
history
or
and
if he's
pain
truly
obscure
interested
these
in building
connections.
something
Political
real. One way
battles
to find
blur
out is
spiritual
to bring up the
truths,
future
but
yourself.
it is
You don't
in
have
the
to say anything
stillness of a
heavy like
ceasefire
talking
that the
about
faithful
marriage,
are
just
invited
something
to remember the deeper
we should try that
story,
together
the one not
sometime.
written by
If he
governments or
smiles,
armies,
responds
but by the
positively, or
divine.
even starts
This
making
story
real
is one of
plans,
shared values,
then that
shared
says a lot.
prayers,
But
shared hopes
if
for
he
peace.
dodges it or
It is
keeps
a
things
story that
vague,
exists
you've got some
beneath the
answers
noise and
right
above
there,
the
guys.
wounds,
Don't always
waiting to
spell
be
out their
rediscovered
feelings,
by
but
those
when they
humble enough
really
to
like
seek it.
someone, they start
This
to make space for
rediscovery
them
does
in their
not
life.
require
And that's one of the
compromise of
biggest
faith,
signs he's
but a
not
deeper
just enjoying the
commitment to
moment,
its
he's actually
essence. The
serious
prophets,
about
revered
you.
in both
He also
Islam and
starts
Judaism,
acting
were not men of
protective,
war,
even if he
but men of
doesn't mean
God.
to.
They
When a
carried
guy
burdens of
truly cares
truth,
about you, this
spoke hard
protective
words to
side
their
shows
people,
itself
and
in
lived
small,
lives of
natural
service.
ways. It's
Their
not
mission
about
was not
being
to divide, but
possessive
to
or trying
guide.
to control.
In this
It's
shared
simply
reverence
about a
for
deep
prophetic
desire to
tradition
make
lies a
sure
powerful
you're
opportunity.
okay. And what's
The
interesting
ceasefire
is he
became
probably
a
won't even
chance to
realize
honor
he's
their
doing it.
legacy,
Maybe you're walking
not by
together
claiming
and
exclusive
without
right
thinking
to
he moves
truth,
to the
but
side
by
closer to
walking in their
traffic, or when
spirit
you're
of
in a crowded
obedience
area,
and
he
love
gently
for
places
God.
a
When the
hand on your
faithful
back
of
to
both
guide you through.
communities look
He's
to
not
the
announcing
heavens
it, but
instead
his
of
actions are
across the
showing he's looking
battlefield,
out for you.
they
And it's
see
not
the
just
same
physical,
stars
it's
that
emotional
Abraham
too.
once saw.
If you're upset or
They are
stressed about
reminded
something,
that they
he'll
are
want to
not only
understand why
descendants
and
of a
help in
prophet,
his own way,
but
even if
bearers
he's
of
not
his
great with
covenant.
comforting
This
words.
moment is
His
more than
care
a
will come
political
through in
pause.
how he
It is a
listens,
divine
how his
summons to
body
recall the
language
deeper
changes, and
covenant
how
that
he
began with a
adjusts his
single
vibe
man
to
who
match
trusted
yours.
God with his
A guy who
entire
doesn't
life.
care won't go out of his
That
way to
covenant
check how
lives
you're
on,
feeling. He won't
not
text
just
to
in
make sure you
rituals
got
or
home
law,
safe. He
but
won't
in the call
notice
to
when
be a
your mood
blessing to
changes.
others.
But a man
When
who's
Islam and
emotionally
Judaism
invested
forget for
will
their
react
shared
without
roots,
needing
the
to be
world
asked.
becomes darker.
This shows up around
But when
other
they
people too.
remember,
If someone makes
even
you
for a
uncomfortable,
moment,
especially
the
another
world
guy,
finds
he'll
light.
pick up on it fast, even
He
before you
yes,
say
there is that
anything. He
moment,
might not
a
do
pause
anything
not
big,
only
but
in
you'll
violence,
sense
but
the
in
change.
forgetting.
Maybe he moves
It is a
closer
holy
or
space
shifts
where
how he
remembrance
stands to
can
make
take
you feel
root and
safe.
grow.
And if someone
This
disrespects
shared
you, whether it's a
ancestry is not a
co-worker,
myth
friend, or
or a
stranger,
symbol.
he
It is a
won't
living
stay
truth,
quiet.
and
He'll
it
find a way to
calls
step
for
in
action.
respectfully to let you
It calls
know
for
he's on your
humility.
side, and
It
he
calls
wants
for
you to feel
compassion
respected.
rooted in
This
memory.
protective
When the
instinct
ceasefire is
is
honored
also
not just
visible
by the
in how he
silence of
takes
weapons,
care of the
but by the
little
awakening of
things.
this shared
If you're
lineage,
feeling
it
under the
becomes
weather,
more than
he'll
strategy.
check on you. He'll
It becomes
remember how you
sacred.
like your tea when you're
And
sick,
in
or
that
what makes you feel
sacredness,
better
there
after a
lies
rough day.
hope.
He
In
might
both
never say,
Islam and
"I care
Judaism,
about
the
you" out
sanctity of
loud,
human
but
life
his
is not a
actions will do the
suggestion
talking.
or cultural
And
ideal.
the most
It is a
beautiful
divine
part
truth.
is he's not
Every
doing
soul,
this to impress
every
you.
breath,
He's doing
every
it because it's
face
what
that
he
walks this earth
genuinely
is created
wants to
with
do.
purpose
One
and
major way
dignity
this shows
by
up
the
is when
same
he
Creator
remembers
who
what you've
shaped the
told him,
stars.
especially
This
things
truth
that
does
matter
not
to your
change with
safety or
borders or
comfort.
politics,
If you
and it does
once
not
told him that
vanish in the
walking
fog
home
of
late
war.
makes you
In
nervous,
fact,
don't be
it
surprised
becomes
if
even
he
more
starts
urgent
texting to
in
check
those
in
times.
when you're out at
A
night, or
ceasefire,
if you
though
mention
brief
how
and
you
often
hate mornings
fragile,
before
because
meetings,
the
he
sacred
might
remind
send a
it halts
message
the
just
weapons
to
long
wish
enough
you
to
luck.
remember
Those
that the
gestures
person
aren't
on
just
the other
sweet, they're
side
signs
is
that
not
he's
just an
truly paying
opponent,
attention
but a
and
soul
looking out for
made
you,
in the
even
image of
from
God.
afar.
In
And let's be
Islam,
honest, that
the
kind of
Quran
quiet care
teaches that
is
killing
deeply
one
attractive,
innocent
not
life
because it
is
makes
like
him
killing
seem
all of
tough, but because
humanity,
it shows he's
and
thinking
saving
beyond
one
the
life
surface.
is like saving
He's not
all
just
of
trying to have a
humanity.
good time, he
That
genuinely
verse is
values
not
how you
metaphor.
feel
It is
and
a
wants to be a
commandment
part of
that
that
speaks
emotionally,
directly to the
physically,
value
and
placed on
mentally.
each human
But it's
being,
also important to spot the
regardless of
difference
nation or
between being
background.
protective
Similarly,
and being
in
controlling. A
Judaism,
guy who
the
really
Talmud
cares
echoed
will never
that
try
very
to
same
take away your
teaching,
freedom
rooted
or
in the
make all
belief
your
that
choices. He'll
inhuman is
respect your
created in
independence
Ezel
while still
Elohim,
making
in
sure
the
you're
image of
okay
God.
if what
This
he's
shared
doing ever
principle
feels
is not
like
just
he's trying to
theology,
isolate
it
you
is the
or limit
beating
who you
heart of
talk
both
to.
faiths.
That's not
It is
love.
the
That's a warning
foundation
sign.
upon which
Real
every act of
protection comes
justice,
from love
mercy,
and
and
trust, not
righteousness
from
must
control.
stand.
In the end,
When war
men may
breaks
not
out,
always
this
express love
principle
in
is
big
the
dramatic
first
ways,
casualty.
but when they care,
Labels
their
replace
behavior
names,
will show
hatred
it loud
replaces
and clear. If a
understanding.
man is
The human
naturally
face
looking out
becomes
for
a
you, if he
target,
checks in,
rather
even
than a
when you don't
testimony of
ask,
divine
and supports
creation.
you in
That is
subtle,
why the
real
feast
ways,
ceasefire
then
is
he
more than a
likely feels
diplomatic
something
event.
strong,
It
even
is
if
a
he hasn't
holy
said the words
interruption.
yet. He
It is the
also
chance
can't
to
help
look
but
again,
smile
to see what
around
has
you.
been
You know
forgotten,
that goofy,
to feel what
slightly
has been
shy
numbed,
grin
to
guys get when
recall
they're
that
around
even the
someone they're
enemy is
really
someone's
into?
child,
That's one of the biggest
someone's
clues when a
parent,
man likes you.
someone's
Just being near
prayer.
you makes him happy.
This
And he
is
can't
not
hide
easy.
it. He'll
It
laugh
never
more at your
has been.
jokes even if they're not
But the
that
path
funny.
of faith
And he'll
is
seem
rarely the
genuinely
path of
excited
ease.
every time
It
he
is
gets
the
to
path
talk
of
to you.
truth,
If you
and
catch him
truth
smiling
demands
when
that we
nothing
see with
particularly
God's
funny is
eyes,
happening,
not just
that's
our
because
own.
he simply enjoys your
Both
presence.
Islam and Judaism are rich
can't
in
stop
stories
showing
of
it. And if a
prophets
man
who
shows more
pleaded
than
for
one of
mercy
these
over
signs, then
destruction.
there's a very
Abraham
strong chance
himself
he's
argued with
into
God
you
to
for
spare the
real.
innocent.
But remember, don't let
Moses
yourself
stood
get stuck
between God and
overthinking
his
it. If you
people
constantly
to ask
wonder,
for
does he like
forgiveness.
me? You'll miss
The
out on
prophet
actually
Muhammad
enjoying the
gave those who
moment.
had plotted
Instead,
his
focus
death
on
and
being
fought
confident,
against him.
joyful, and true to
These are
yourself.
not weak
Because when the
acts.
right man
They
shows
are
up,
acts of
he won't leave you
unimaginable
guessing. He'll
strength,
show
born
through
out
his
of deep
actions
faith
that he
and a
wants to
commitment
be
to the
with
divine
you.
image in
And
every
if you
person.
found this helpful, don't
In
forget to
moments
like,
like a
comment, and
ceasefire,
subscribe. Because
those
the more you
examples
learn
are
about
not
love,
distant.
the better
They
you
are
become at
immediate
attracting the
calls
love
to
you
action.
truly deserve. Now
This is
drop
the
a comment
time when
below and
faith
share the
must move from
funniest
the
or
tongue
most
to the
obvious
heart,
way
and
a
from the
guy
heart to the
ever
hand.
flirted with
The
you.
believer is called to
Wow.
see sacredness where the world sees only separation, to speak peace where the world shouts pain, to protect life where the world demands vengeance. A ceasefire gives the space to do that, to reach out, to restrain, to remember. It is not just a chance to stop death, it is a moment determined to help life, to uphold dignity, to walk the harder road of healing. The sanctity of life is not just a command for peacetime, it is the very standard by which faith is judged in the worst of times. The question is not only what we believe, but how we act when belief is put to the ultimate test. A ceasefire brings that test into sharp focus. It asks each of us whether we see the face of God not only in our friends, but in those we once called foes. And in that question lies the true depth of our devotion. Faith is not fully revealed in times of comfort. Its true measure is exposed when the world shakes, when injustice surrounds, and when wounds are fresh. In both Islam and Judaism, the call to faith is not merely a call to belief, but to action. To live by the principles spoken by the prophets and written in sacred texts. A ceasefire, though often seen as a political arrangement, is a moment in which that faith is tested. It becomes a stage on which the depth of one's devotion is displayed, not by how loudly one proclaims belief, but by how consistently one lives it when emotions are high and tensions are near breaking. In Islam, the Prophet Muhammad taught that the strong are not those who defeat others in battle, but those who control themselves in anger. That teaching transforms the meaning of power. It shifts the focus from the battlefield to the heart, from external victories to internal mastery. Similarly, Judaism teaches in the book of Proverbs that one who is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and one who rules his spirit than one who captures a city. These principles align perfectly. They are not ancient cliches, they are divine instructions. In the context of a ceasefire, they become commandments in action. Will the faithful practice patience over provocation? Will they choose mercy over retaliation? These are not questions of politics, but of the soul. To claim faith is one thing. To live it when it costs you pride, comfort, or revenge is another. A ceasefire provides the setting where that choice becomes visible. It is the difference between quoting scripture and embodying it. In both Islam and Judaism, worship is not just in rituals or prayers, but in how one treats others, especially in moments of power. When a ceasefire is announced, surrender is executed as weakness or surrender. The faithful must see it as a divine opportunity to rise above instinct and live as God commands, to speak gently when provoked, to give room for healing instead of holding tightly to resentment, to lead by the soul, not the sword. The Torah and the Quran are filled with calls to justice, yes, but also to compassion, forgiveness, and restraint. The prophets did not simply cry out against injustice. They lived lives of sacrifice and humility. They called people not only to fight for what is right, but to forgive when forgiveness felt impossible. In a ceasefire, their voices felt impossible. In a ceasefire, their voices echo more loudly than ever. This is the moment when their teachings must become more than story. They must become the steps we walk, the air we breathe, the truth we carry into every conversation, every action, every prayer. Living out faith in this way does not mean abandoning pain or forgetting wrongs. It means choosing not to let pain define the future. It means breaking the cycle of harm with a commitment to something higher than self. It means remembering that God does not just ask us to worship Him. In a ceasefire, that reflection becomes visible. The world watches not only to see if the violence will stop, but to see if the people of faith will rise in dignity, compassion, and courage. To believe in God is powerful. To act like God wants us to act, especially in these moments, is far greater. Faith without action is silence, but faith lived out in restraint, in mercy, and in forgiveness becomes a living testimony. That is the kind of faith a ceasefire demands. That is the kind of faith that changes hearts and maybe even the future. In the silence of a ceasefire, a louder truth emerges. A truth that speaks not in explosions, but in echoes of mercy, memory, and shared humanity. This moment is not the end of conflict, but the beginning of choice. For those who walk in faith, it is a divine test, a call to rise above pain, to remember the sacredness of life, and to choose forgiveness over fury. Islam and Judaism, though distinct in form, share a spirit that longs for justice and breathes compassion. The teachings of both traditions do not point to endless struggle, but to courageous restraint, to the holiness of peace, and to the dignity of every soul formed by the hand of God. A ceasefire is not only a political pause, it is a spiritual mirror, showing the world what lies inside the faithful heart. Will we pass this test not with force, but with faith? That answer lies in what we do when the dust settles, and the heart speaks later than the past. Thank you for walking with me through these reflections. May your hearts be guided by wisdom, your hands by justice, and your spirit by the unshakable power of peace.